official first pilot episode of the Steel City Gridiron Report. My name's Nick Hedrick here on behalf of Stranded Sports. This is a little earlier than we anticipated getting back onto the podcast scene, but yet here we are because the Steelers did Steeler things today, and we need to talk about it. But anyway, we're very excited to be back with you all in the form of this new show. Ethan Morrison will be joining me, and over the course of the next few months and hopefully all year long, we're able to bring you the latest news in Steeler and Whippeal area football. And we will be launching our official first episode as opposed to this pilot little teaser run in the next few weeks. But anyway, the main story of today, the only thing we're going to talk about here for the next 10 minutes or so, is the Steelers' decision to move on to Russell Wilson, or it sure seems like that's the implication, for their big game against the New York Jets, who have recently acquired Devontae Adams. As of today, actually, as of this morning, that seemed to be the big NFL news of the day. I don't know if the Steeler news has necessarily surpassed it, but definitely has come pretty darn close. So Russell Wilson taking first team reps in practice this week. They're calling it in preparation of potentially starting, being grandfathered in, maybe literally, against the Jets before the Steelers played the Jets and Giants over the course of these next 2 weeks, I believe, before their bye then. There's obviously been strong reactions from both sides for this. Watching the Oakland, want to call them Oakland because that's where they belong. According to the Las Vegas Raiders game, it was an impressive win. They scored over 30 points. And that seems to be the new Steelers formula, is rely on the defense and the special teams to make plays. And then the offense just needs something to, get them going. And those two different facets of the game provide them with that opportunity. And you just need to give the offense a chance to go out there and get X number of points and put them in a good spot to succeed. And that's exactly what happened. And we see the Steelers triumph over the Raiders once again by topping that 30-point mark, which seems to be just unachievable to them most weeks. But in watching that game and talking to folks, it was kind of swept under the rug, maybe, that Justin Fields didn't have his best stuff that day. He missed some really easy throws, in my opinion, early on, stalling a couple early drives. He missed some throws late, and it was not his best showing. And if you look at the box score, you might not see that, but a lot of the plays he made against Oakland, and I'm going to keep calling him Oakland, and you're just going to have to know what I'm saying, apparently. But a lot of the plays he made, as has been the case all season, has been the use of his legs and his ability to give plays more life, a longer shelf life, thanks to him being young and having those legs as an asset to him. So the news of Russell Wilson taking over, maybe isn't super surprising. It seemed like it was always Russell Wilson's job to lose. Both of them are on prove-it deals, albeit at very different times and points of their careers. And I think that's also another layer of this lasagna of this story that we kind of have to peel back, is the fact that Russell Wilson's 38, 37 years old. He's not the long-term solution to the Steelers, even if he proves in whatever games he does play this year that he does have something in the tank, and him and Denver just were not a good fit. We saw flashes of Russell Wilson. I think last year was a tremendous step up from the year before for him in Denver before he was, benched, so there was no incentive money they had to pay him out. But this is interesting because no matter what he does in Pittsburgh, he's not the long-term solution. Justin Fields could be that long-term solution. Pittsburgh takes the chance on him. Maybe it wasn't the biggest take a chance on me situation, but him in Chicago is clearly not working out. They want Caleb Williams. And so he goes to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh wants him. There were other teams, even Justin Fields has said it, who were interested in acquiring him. Pittsburgh's where he ended up. Pittsburgh could have potentially, they talk about hometown discounts. He could have potentially gone to Pittsburgh and been put into that mold there if things did work out so far. And they have in large part 4-2. They could be 5-1. But apparently not good enough, because now Fields seems like he's going to, again, not official. They haven't officially said Russell Wilson's the starter, but it's been heavily implied. Tomlin even said they might both play, which is crazy to me. That's like a high school or college level thing that you hear, not typically something that you hear on the NFL level. But in my opinion, the craziest part about this is if it does work out for Russ, great. Gets you into the playoffs or so this year, but then what? You would groom Justin Fields to be the guy to take over from Russell Wilson, you would think. Am I wrong? I don't think so. And now maybe because this has been the plan, Fields knew it was coming and he's more okay with it than he would have been under different circumstances. But I find it hard to believe Justin Fields isn't at least a little bit upset or has a little bit of a bruised ego for this. Because what more could he have really done? One interception, should have been two. Questionable roughing the passer call against the Raiders that really negated an absolutely terrible interception on his part. But for the most part, that hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. The one turnover, the one interception to 10 total touchdowns, I believe. He's been a little more egregious, a little more these past couple games as he was at the beginning when they came out of the gate with those 3 wins. But overall, he's done a great job of doing that Steeler formula of letting the defense and special teams keep you in the game, and the offense just does what it has to do to score just enough. He's done a phenomenal job of that. He's not turning it over. He's able to make plays with his legs. And he has had some nice, read some nice throws this year. But again, some of the basic ones these last few weeks, last few games, been a little dicey. So it wasn't a pretty outing for him in Las Vegas by any stretch of the imagination. But he did what he needed to do to get the Steelers in the win column, made a little bit easier by the fact that TJ Watt had a TJ Watt-like performance. Special teams did some tremendous things. And they had some of the, I don't think it was as crazy as people were making out to be, but there were some help from the officials in that game as well. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. But regardless, it seems like he did everything on paper that he needed to do. He didn't look lost. He wasn't out there like a deer in the headlights. Maybe the game wasn't coming to him as it was earlier in the year, like I was mentioning earlier. But he hasn't given them a reason yet to go, oh my God, we got to get this guy out of here. Especially for near the end of his shelf life, Russell Wilson. And before anyone wants to say I'm a Fields, meat coattail rider, whatever, Russell Wilson has been one of my favorite players since he entered the league. I never bandwagoned over to the Seahawks and joined that when it was very easy to do so, but Russell Wilson was a favorite player of mine to watch for a very long time. I was so excited when the Steelers got him, and albeit I know it's not the Russell Wilson that I grew up admiring that we're getting. We're getting that over the hill or borderline over the hill Russell Wilson, as I've mentioned earlier as well. But I was still excited to see what was happening. But even I think, and now that I gave it that justification, even I don't think this makes a lot of sense, at least right now. At least right now. Frazier's hurt. Roderick Jones looks lost at times. We've all seen the clip of him over the last weekend. And the line's just not in good shape right now. And Justin Fields, however, that doesn't impact him as much. I'm not saying it's not, decreasing maybe his ability to do certain things, but it isn't impacting him as much because he has those legs. Mike Tomlin even said in his presser today that Justin Fields is able to do more with his legs than Russell Wilson can. Russell Wilson cannot replicate what Justin Fields has done in terms of getting out of, scary situations with his legs. So we address that. The mobility is not going to be what we're accustomed to seeing with Russell Wilson, especially coming off hamstring problems and the fact that he's 38 years old now. Okay, he can probably still move, but it's not the Russell Wilson that we're used to seeing from his prime. It's probably not comparable to Justin Fields either. You have that. You have the fact that the lines, I don't know if in shambles is too aggressive or not aggressive enough, but the line's not in a great state right now. So what does that leave? You have a veteran presence in there who knows what to do with the football. Yeah, that's great. But Justin Fields has 1 interception this year. So that's a hard argument to make that he's going to, make the better reads and not turn the ball over, be more careful with the football, protect the rock. That's a bit of a stretch because Justin Fields, despite there being some dicey situations, he's done a good job of making sure the other team's not getting the ball off of him. Maybe in the form of 3 and out, but not in terms of turning it over. So unless Russell Wilson at 38 years old has pristine ball placement and is pristine throwing power, I'm really not sure what the upside is because you're potentially pissing off your future. You're giving up the mobility. And the only thing that he could be better at, how many concerns do we have about this receiving core anyway? Who's he throwing to? What's the Steelers' game plan? We've seen it for years. They throw it short, very few throws over the middle, very few dangerous passes, and Justin Fields wasn't, blowing up that ideology. It's not like he couldn't do that. It's almost to the point where I want to call Steelers quarterbacks basically game managers while the defense and special teams make plays for them. And that might be a stretch too, but I don't know. I don't feel like that's that controversial of a statement to make at this point in time after watching it for years. So really, what is the upside to Russell Wilson other than you say both these guys are on a prove-it deal, so we're going to give both of them a shot? I don't know. I think Russ does deserve a shot at some point this season, but only if they start losing games. But you also want to figure it out and know definitively who's your quarterback before that tough second half of their schedule kicks in, where they run the gauntlet in the end of November, December, and early January, I believe. Before you run that 6-game or so gauntlet to end your season, you need to have it all figured out by then. Both New York games should be winnable. Okay, they should be winnable. I thought the Giants were turning a corner, but then we saw what Cincinnati did on Monday. Jets have Adams, so that's a whole nother layer there. Their defense is pretty stout. So it's going to be a challenge, but I think they're both very easily winnable games for the Steelers. So I'm just curious. It's probably not the worst time to do this because they're playing winnable games. And maybe there is a little more margin for error there. But at the same time, why not keep Fields in? Because he's already proven that he can win and he can run things efficiently enough to get you in the win column. That way you go into your bye at 6-2? I don't know. They don't pay me the money to make those decisions, but I'll be questioning this one for a very long time. Let us know what you think about this decision. Listen, I know we're all going to disagree. We're all going to disagree, and hopefully I made my arguments well enough for you to understand at least where I'm coming from being a little confused. This was a should I or should I not do this before the show officially launches kind of deal, and I sat down and decided to do it kind of on a whim here. So if I left out a major talking point, please let me know. But I'm excited to see what happens here when we probably more than likely you've been wonderful. We'll see you watching.